What's up, everybody? It's Dingers with the boys. That's right, that's boys with a Z. I'm Tim. I'm here with always my BFK. That's right, my best friend Kyle.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Like Tim said, this is Dingers with the boys. Glad to be with you for another episode. Last week, we talked about college bowl games and the NBA in-season tournament. Definitely got to go check that out on YouTube. But let's just get straight into this episode.
Yep, we got some headlines this week. There's definitely been a lot of stuff that's happened in the sports world, but we're just going to kind of say a couple. First, Jaden Daniels, the Heisman winner this year from the QB from LSU. He decided to skip his bowl game and enter the NFL draft. He's the third best QB ranked right now in the draft, and he's definitely a dual threat QB, so we'll see kind of how that goes in the draft for him.
Yeah, I think this will be definitely one of the bigger college players to be sitting out. I know there's already been a couple, but definitely a huge name to be sitting out in the bowl game. I'm super excited to see where he ends up in the
Big
NFL
blow for
draft next
LSU,
year.
too, for the bowl.
Yeah.
But next one, we got Steph Curry. His three-point streak finally ended. 268 straight regular season games with a three-pointer. He went 0 for 8 on Sunday night from 3 versus Portland. They still did get the win, but he had a rough night, honestly, overall. He went 2 for 12, but 0 for 8 from 3. So that streak began December 1st, 2018 versus Detroit. He also owns the second longest three-point streak with 156 or 157 games in a row, so that's kind of crazy.
It's not super surprising to me that Curry has had such a long streak like this. It is super surprising that the streak finally snapped. I thought it was honestly going to be a streak that never ended. I mean, when you watch Curry play, it's basically just a given that he's going to make at least one three-pointer in the game. He's leading the league in three-pointers made by a pretty wide margin. So definitely pretty crazy for him to have such a bad game and for that streak to finally end. But
well, especially when he shot 8 three-pointers too.
Yeah.
It's very surprising that he couldn't just make one. I know it's easier said than done kind of thing.
Yeah.
But do you think Draymond Green's absence is has something to do with this at all?
I mean, it could be as you guys probably know, Draymond Green got suspended indefinitely, and he's currently serving that suspension. You got to go through guidelines, and I think the Warriors do play worse when Draymond is off the floor. I mean, you can look at stats, you can look at records, and you can see that it definitely shows that they play worse. But honestly, I don't think Draymond being on and off the court impacts Steph Curry making three-pointers because, I mean, I guess maybe in a sense because Draymond is a great ball, he moves the ball so well and moves that offense. But, I mean, like we said earlier, Steph Curry has been so amazing.
Yeah, it shouldn't affect him making at least one.
I don't think it really affects things.
Yeah.
I think it is more just a fluke. It's something that may not ever happen again for the rest of his career. I don't know how long Steph Curry plans on playing, but I know he's kind of getting up there in age. But, I mean, he still, plays just as well as he has in years past. So, I honestly think that he has a chance maybe beating this streak, depending on how long he stays in the league.
I don't know if he'll beat this, but he'll definitely get up there again. I think as the Warriors as a whole, I think it will affect them with Draymond being out. I think he's going to be out most likely at least 15, 20 games.
Yeah.
That punch on Nurkic the other night, that was never seen something like that as an actual basketball play. Yeah, there's fights and stuff, but nothing like that. And, I think that's going to affect the Warriors long-term for sure.
I think it's going to be interesting, too, how Steve Kerr kind of reacts to this suspension because obviously not having Draymond in there, you got to change up the game plan. You got to be able to change something because now they really don't have any big men. I mean, Draymond's only 6'9", so he's not really a big man typically, but
I bet you they wish they had Wiseman again.
Yeah.
That'd be
so it's
I'm
curious to see if the Golden State Warriors and Steve Kerr change their game plan at all of, hey, now that we don't have Draymond, how are we gonna go against teams that are just gonna try to bully us in the paint? Which is
Yeah.
one thing. If you watched that Portland game, I was kind of surprised they didn't. They kind of, it seemed like, played into Golden State's game plan, but I mean that can be a topic for a later episode.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Going into the NHL, the Ottawa Senators fired their coach DJ Smith and assistant coach Davis Payne. The interim coach will be Jacques Martin, who actually was their coach from the 95-96 season to the 03-04 season before he got fired. He has coached nearly 1,300 NHL games, which is definitely good for Ottawa. He Smith was hired in 2019, so he hadn't been there for too long. And it's kind of crazy. He is the fifth NHL coach this season to be replaced. And we're halfway through the season, not even halfway. So that's kind of crazy. And one other thing with that hiring is the Senators actually just hired Martin back as a senior advisor to the coaching staff on December 6th. And so that's less than 2 weeks ago. They just hired him, so I wonder if they kind of thought that this was going to come, and they're kind of maybe wanting him as a long term. I know they changed ownership a little while ago, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes in the NHL.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting in any sport, really, when a team decides to fire their coach and make coaching changes in the middle of the season. It's kind of interesting always to me how the team reacts after that, because some players will react really well against it, and then others will completely be the opposite. So it's just going to be really interesting on what happens now. But obviously, they wanted to make the switch, and yeah, like Tim said, maybe when they brought him on, maybe they had this idea later on, and they decided hey, we'll just make him the coach now and going forward.
See what they can do the rest of the year or something. Staying in hockey this week, we're going to talk about the NHL Winter Classic. We're going to also talk about some different stadiums and stuff. But NHL Winter Classic's coming up, and it's a huge thing for the NHL. For those of you that don't know what the NHL Winter Classic is, it's a outdoor game that started in January 1st, 2008, and it's played just around at different stadiums. Usually the stadium is in the city where the home team is located. However, it has been moved a couple times. For example, they played at Notre Dame Stadium when Chicago Blackhawks were a home team, which is about 100 miles from Chicago. However, they did play at Notre Dame Stadium. But yeah, this has been going since 2008, and this year it'll be the 15th. They didn't do it during 2013 because of the lockout, or 2021 because of COVID. But there is a few other NHL hockey games that are played outdoor. I know they've had the NHL Heritage Classic, which is only Canadian teams. They also have the NHL Stadium Series, which that can kind of be anything. But the Winter Classic definitely, I feel like, has cemented itself as a very popular thing in hockey. For example, it's kind of honestly hockey almost has New Year's Day as baseball has the 4th of July, or NFL has Thanksgiving, or the NBA has Christmas Day is a big thing. So I think this is a huge thing for the NHL.
Yeah, I remember when NHL first came out with the Winter Classic, there was a huge buzz about it, and I was definitely super excited. I mean, I love watching on TV. It's something I would definitely love to go to in person one year. But yeah, like Tim said, it seems like NHL has kind of cemented themselves into having that on New Year's Day, and it's great to see. I think NHL is always kind of been the younger brother of the four major sports. I mean, everybody talks about NFL, everybody talks about NBA, and I feel like NHL is kind of that backseat a lot. It's probably got the smallest market, but definitely love seeing NHL do stuff like this. I think it's so like out of the box, and it's so cool like watching. And they usually have the big entrance into where players like skate into the kind of arena or stadium or wherever they do. And
It kind
I,
of reminds you of like pond hockey in a way,
yeah,
and that's kind of I think what the NHL was trying to do was kind of like evoke memories of pond hockey in a
yep,
way. Especially, I know in Colorado we don't really have as much like that, but I know in like Minnesota and like Canada and a
yeah, that's
lot
a
of
big
places
thing.
where
Yep.
these guys come from, and like you were saying, just like the entrances and just like it's a spectacle, and even not as much like hockey fans. I know some people that kind of tune into that game even a little bit just to see, oh man, like what's the weather like? And
Yeah,
I know, like for example, in 2022, it was the coldest outdoor NHL game in history. That was against the Blues. It was the Blues versus the Wild. It was up in Minnesota, and the temperature at like puck drop was negative 5.7 degrees.
that's just insane. I know, like me and Tim, we've talked about cold weather games before, and I know me and him probably would not like that, but I'm sure the players absolutely love that game. That might be already like just because it's the Winter Classic might be their favorite game that they've been in, but
It's crazy because,
like
like
it
we
being
were
that
talking
cold, yeah,
about, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago with the NFL. Some of those like players really like that. Well, hockey, it's a little different because you're usually playing inside, even though the ice is colder. It's not that cold, and it's like,
yeah,
man, just think if you were a fan at that game, I would hate that game. I don't even care if it's a good game. There's
yeah,
no way, you know. I mean, me and you have gone to some Broncos games that are 20s, 30s, and it's like, man, this is
yeah. It's just miserable.
freezing.
You're sitting there, and but yeah, I think definitely those fans probably got a show for it. They probably knew going in that hey, this is going to be cold, and probably they loved that. So
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
and it's not like it was 60 degrees, then all of a sudden, oh, it's -5, you know. So they definitely knew it
but
going
it's
in.
interesting because like I feel like NHL even tries to do this in like warmer areas where you wouldn't really be like
Well, at
known for.
times,
Like
a lot of them have been actually like in the northern, like U.S. For example, like Gillette Stadium, Notre Dame Stadium, Wrigley Field, Fenway Park, Michigan Stadium, which actually had the set the NHL attendance record in 2014. They had 105,491 people there. That was against the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Red Wings, Detroit Red Wings, and it actually went to a shootout too.
love it.
And so that's always fun. That was the first Canadian team that was in it as well. So I think that kind of brings it to it. But I think this has been such a huge success for the NHL. It's brought massive attendance every year. And also, the TV ratings every single year are so far up. And like we said, it's on usually January 1st. A couple of times it's been on some other days just from like different conflicts and stuff. But a lot of people have off that day, turn on the TV, see NHL hockey, which it's awesome. One of my favorite things of it too is most of the teams usually wear like a throwback sweater, which is sweater for hockey. It's their jersey, but that's kind of like cool that they like just bring in their history of their teams and kind of brings it back just to see kind of some of those old school like jerseys, and they've kind of some of them have used them as like alternates for the next year and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. That's one of my favorite parts about watching that game. It's just because I don't know, you kind of get in a rhythm of seeing the same team's jerseys over and over and over again. So watching them like come out in those throwback jerseys, which there are some really cool throwback jerseys in the NHL. It's just so much like a revitalizing moment kind of thing. Like it's just such a change of pace. It brings like a whole new excitement to a viewer. And yeah, like Tim said, that's definitely one of my favorite parts of it too. I mean, I know like watching the NHL Winter Classic, it always reminds me of the movie Mystery Alaska.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Which I
but
love that
yeah,
movie.
yeah, one of my favorite movies. But yeah, just like the whole atmosphere of the whole entire game, it just doesn't feel like your typical NHL game, and I already love watching hockey. I definitely put other sports ahead of it, but not to say that I don't like NHL, but I wish I could watch all sports all the time, all at the same time, but
Definitely.
definitely love watching the NHL Winter Classic for sure.
I think a big part of it too, I like seeing it in different arenas as well. It
Yeah.
just kind of adds to it, and uh, I don't know what it is. It's just unique and different. If it was in Colorado, and I know we've had the Stadium Series at Coors Field, but if it was in Colorado, do you have something in mind where you'd want it? Like regardless, say of the attendance, because I know there's some stadiums that are more, some that are less. I have one in my mind. I'll say it if you don't have something in your mind right
Um, I don't know. Go ahead and
now.
say what you say. Maybe
That's
I'll
a.
think and I'll
I know
come
I
back
kind of
with
just sprung
something.
this on you, but my thing, I think it would be so cool to have it at Folsom Field, and Folsom Field only holds about 50,000, which I don't know how they would do it with the NHL, but the backdrop with the Flatirons in Boulder, I think look so cool, like in the mountains and just the city of Boulder right there. I think it would look so cool as a hockey stadium. I know, obviously, like Coors Field, you can have, and like you can see the mountains and stuff that as well. And you got Empower Field with the Broncos, which it holds a lot more people. But just being that close to the Flatirons, I think would look awesome, especially if it has snow and like a little
Yeah.
snow that day.
Yeah, that definitely would be really cool. The only thing I was thinking is anywhere where you can see the mountains in the backdrop,
Yep.
even if they had to go in the middle of nowhere and kind of build the stadium, like build it from scratch, and it's like a Field of Dreams moment where,
That'd
hey,
be
if you
kind of
build
cool.
it, they'll come, and just as long as you have the Colorado mountains in the backdrop, and I think that would be pretty awesome to see.
Yeah. I hope the Avs get it for sure. I know every single NHL team has put in that they've wanted it, either honestly even away or home, just because how big it is, and it's just a fun game to be a part of. This year, it'll be fun. It's the Seattle Kraken host the Las Vegas Knights at T-Mobile Park, uh, which that's kind of cool. It's the
Two newest
two
teams,
newest
yeah.
teams, and they're both up and coming. I mean, the
Yeah,
Knights just
Vegas just
won.
won.
Yeah, they just won the Stanley Cup, and the Kraken definitely have a big following, so that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
it'd be really awesome to see. They always pair two teams that are kind of rivals, kind of like equal in strengths, and it's always a really great game. It would be really interesting to see who the Avalanche would get paired with. Maybe like a Minnesota Wild or
Yeah,
Detroit Red Wings. I know,
yeah, maybe
like,
old school a little bit.
yeah, a
Yep.
little old school rivalry.
Even the Kraken right now,
But yeah,
honestly,
even the Kraken.
or the Knights. But yeah, so that's kind of what we were thinking with the NHL Winter Classic. Let us know what you guys think, where you'd like to see it, what you like about the game, what you dislike. Um, but definitely let us know. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify. Definitely give us a heads up, and we'll definitely reply back. But we're going to take a minute here, and you'll hear a word from our sponsor.
You're doing Christmas shopping and you're stuck in a lurch. Come on down to Colorado Hat and check out our merch. Colorado Hat Company, located at Colorado Mills Mall. Tell them the Dingers sent you.
Hey, everybody, we're back. That was a word from our sponsor, Colorado Hat Company. Definitely check them out before Christmas. Go get a last minute hat or anything. Tell them the Dingers sent you. But we're back. We're going to talk about some stadiums, best home advantage, and just some stadiums we want to go to, we want to attend for different reasons. But take us away, Kyle.
Yeah, so let's just dive into it. Home advantage, whether home court, home field, whatever sport you're talking, is one of the biggest things in sports. But we really want to look at who has the best home advantage in every single sport, and why might it be so great for some teams where other teams it doesn't really seem to help them that much. So let's just get right into it. Going NBA first. We're giving the Denver Nuggets best home advantage out of every single NBA team.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Definitely. There might be a little bit biased, but we tried to take bias out completely. And another thing we tried to take away was just general talent, because if you're a good team, you're going to win no matter what, whether it be home or away. But just some stats backing up. So Nuggets in the last 5 years have the third best home record. They win at a .725 rate. And they also have the highest field goal percentage at 49% out of every single team. And then the two teams that were actually in front of them was the Boston Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers. And while their records are impressive at home, I didn't really want to include them having the best home advantage, only because statistically and record showing Eastern record, the average record of Eastern team in the last 5 years is under 50%, whereas Western Conference, your average record has been above 50%. And it's by a pretty good margin. And then if you look at the Western Conference teams that in the last 5 years or so that have been pretty bad, like Houston and OKC and Sacramento, now they're good. They're very caliber playoff teams, but yet Denver is still always very good at home. Obviously, last year when they won the championship, they were undefeated at home in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's
And
cool.
it was a big reason why they won the championship.
It's cool to see the Nuggets up there, just because we've been to so many Nuggets home games. We went to some away ones as well, but been to so many Nuggets home games, and we've been a part of that home court advantage. And I think it has to do with the fans, but at the same time, I think with the Nuggets, especially, it has to do also with the altitude. I think that you have to definitely put that in there, because you see in any sport, the teams come here to Denver with a higher altitude. It makes it harder for them. And I think that has something to do with it as well. And especially when we had George Karl as our coach, we were definitely a run and gun team.
Yeah.
We were running people off the court, and our home percentage was always one of the highest for sure. And it's just fun to see the Nuggets up there. And like you said, last year, I think it did have a big thing to do with the us winning the championship.
Yeah. Also, players, they just seem to be more comfortable at home and stuff like that. And it feels like such a cliche thing as Denver fans to pull the altitude card, but I mean, it is a big factor. I mean, people that aren't used to running here, you can easily tell that it definitely makes an impact. But yeah, not to knock other teams, but it just seems like Denver has the best home advantage. But if you guys disagree, definitely let us know in the comments. But other than that, we're going to get on to the next sport. Next sport, we're going to go NHL. I'm giving the best NHL or home advantage to Toronto Maple Leafs. They're widely regarded from players around the league and other fans around the league and GMs and coaches to have the most intense fans. And then one thing I wanted to note too, again, saying that we're trying to take away just pure talent away. Toronto hasn't won a Stanley Cup since the 1966-1967 season. They're always in the playoffs. They're still a playoff team, but they haven't won a Stanley Cup. They haven't quite got there, but they're still in the playoffs every single year. And I got to give that to the fans. They've got the fifth best record at home in the last 5 years. So I think the fans are definitely helping them out. I mean, I think all Canadian fans are that intense level, and they definitely do help their home teams, but it just seems like it's a whole nother level in Toronto. But Tim, you got any?
Yeah, I agree. I've always wanted to go to a Maple Leafs game. And me and you have talked about this, just wanting to go to Toronto, even for we go travel for the Nuggets quite a bit and love to go to a Raptors game just because of the fans. And In the NHL, especially, I think Canada has definitely a bigger market for hockey. And
Yeah.
so I think that helps as well. I remember talking to a friend that was from there, and he said that the waiting list for season tickets was insane.
Yeah.
It was like you're putting on your name for your kids or grandkids
Yeah.
to get them, and it's just crazy. And yeah, every single game you watch the Maple Leafs, it doesn't matter if they're playing one of the best teams or one of the worst teams in the league, the fans bring it,
Yeah.
and that definitely I think can be tough to play in at times. And they hold just under 19,000 for hockey, which if you think about it, it's not crazy, not a crazy amount or anything, but when they're loud, it makes it feel like there's 50,000 people in there and they're like right on the ice. And it is fun. And like you said, it's hard to take the talent out because you do get more fans when you're good.
Yeah.
And so it is hard to necessarily completely take that out. And we've tried our best to do that. However, it definitely, if your team's winning, more fans come, more fans get into it. And we've seen that even with the Nuggets. And I think I've been going to Nuggets games my whole life. And there was a few seasons when Melo was here. I went to every single Nuggets home game, and we were still good, but we weren't like that championship team like we were last year. But this last year, I know me and you went to one of the finals games. It brings more people out.
Yeah,
too.
it just seems more intense. The atmosphere is,
and that's what's so
crazier.
crazy with the Maple Leafs. Like you said, they haven't won the Stanley Cup in so long, but their fans still bring it every single year and every single game. So
I think you can argue that the Toronto Maple Leaf fans are equivalent to like Dallas Cowboy fans. There's so many like Dallas Cowboy fans that at the start of the year, they're like, this is our year.
Yeah.
Like this is the year that it's
even going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep, this is our year.
Yeah.
And then just
and
like
then,
one thing happens.
It just like kind of crumbles. But still the next year they're right back with that intensity. So
yeah,
definitely gonna give it to Toronto. I will mention like there are a couple honorable mentions that I wanted to point out. First one being Montreal Canadiens, just because they had a 583 home sellout streak that
another
ended back
Canada
in
team.
October 2018. And then also Chicago, who had a 535 home sellout streak that ended in, I think, October 2021.
Yep.
Those two like sellout streaks are astronomical numbers. It takes years and years to get to that many games. Who knows if we'll ever see records like that.
It's weird to say the sellout streaks too, like especially nowadays, because I feel like almost every game I feel like you can say is a sellout, but it depends on how many people actually come. Like, all the tickets were sold, but all right, 10,000 people didn't come or something like that. I know the Avs had a long one for a while. I hate to say it too, but I know the Detroit Red Wings have a pretty good home advantage, and the fans there take it really serious. They throw the was it like the octopus on the ice and stuff sometimes, or is it octopus or I think it's octopus.
Yeah, I think it's octopus.
And that's just kind of, if you see that as a opposing player, it's just kind of, I feel like intimidating almost a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, it was definitely cool, like looking at different NHL teams and trying to figure out who has the best home advantage. Just like NBA, if you disagree with us or you have any comments, let us know. But going into NFL, going to come at you with another shocking one that I thought, but I'm going to go with Minnesota Vikings. Since 2013, so taking a little bit larger sample size, they're the fifth best home record at 55-26. And them, like the Maple Leafs, they've actually never won the Super Bowl, and the last appearance was in 1975. So obviously, like, they haven't really had that talent per se that is winning like them games per se, but it's just that home fans and home atmosphere that I think is doing it for them. And I was honestly surprised when I was researching that I saw the Vikings up there.
Did you say they have the third highest?
They have the fifth highest.
Or fifth.
So they have the fifth best. Above them were like Pittsburgh was right above them. I think they have one or two game more wins, which I thought about picking Pittsburgh as well. I mean, the terrible towel, like there's so much history in that Pittsburgh. And then you have like the Chiefs and Eagles were up there, I think.
Patriots were probably up there.
Patriots were up there, but
especially
I
with
gave
Tom
that most
Brady.
because Tom Brady.
Yep.
And then Green Bay was up there probably because of Aaron Rodgers. But
yeah, I think Pittsburgh could be a tough one too. That surprises me that Minnesota's that high because they're always like a pretty good team, but then something happens, like somebody gets injured or something like that. And Pittsburgh, like you said, the terrible towels. When you see that on TV, just all of them,
it looks so cool.
Waved. Yeah, and it's just so loud there. And I know me and you've never been there, but we've known a few people that are there, and they say it's just like the atmosphere is crazy. And
we have family members that are
like
big
Nate,
Pittsburgh
for example.
fans.
A couple of weeks ago, I know he's been there a couple times, and he's a big Pittsburgh fan. And so, it's NFL is tough too because, like you were saying, with the cold weather too, you have to be. Like, so a lot of those people are like in it, man, and like especially like Green Bay and like Minnesota, like it's like cold and stuff. And so
it's always cool seeing like NFL fans because they dress up, they act crazy,
they got the uniform, like they have they're painted faces, and you don't see that as much in NBA, NHL, or MLB. And so
exactly. We have a buddy Steve that he goes all out when we go to Broncos games, and it's always just fun to see like the characters, the different fans that are just that much more fans, like
even when
teams.
Like I used to dress up as Nugget Man at Nuggets games, and some people looked at me like I was crazy. Other people's loved it, but if I did that at a Broncos game, nobody would even think twice about it.
And then I do want to note one quick thing about the NFL. I think home field advantage is a big help, but I don't think it helps as much as other sports. Just because the Super Bowl is always played at a neutral site every single year. So unless you just get super lucky and your team is hosting that as like you're the hosting team and you end up making it that year, you don't really get that home field advantage when it comes to the big dance, when it comes to the big game, which I think is kind of interesting that NFL does do that. But I just wanted to make like a quick note that that's the only sport really that doesn't carry that home field advantage into all rounds of the playoffs.
Yep.
It holds that up into the Super Bowl, but after that, it is kind of done.
It is interesting. And the thing with NFL, there's so many more people too. And so obviously it sounds louder than anything else and stuff. But
all right, finally, we're going to go into MLB. And I had to give this one to the LA Dodgers just because of the level of difference they have between literally every single team. It's just impossible to not put them as the best like home advantage. So they have the best record at home in the last 5 years. There are 23 more wins than Houston, and we all know how good Houston's been in the last few years. And then in that time span, they have the fourth most runs, and they only have 113 runs less than the Rockies, which the Rockies Coors Field is the easiest stadium, most hitter-friendly park. So Rockies in the last 5 years, they're leading the league in most runs scored, but it hasn't equated to wins.
Yeah.
But
I think with the Dodgers too, it could be, I mean, they've had a really good team too, but you do see them they usually have a good team, so there usually is a lot of people there.
But it's just crazy. Like they're scoring so many. Yeah. They're leading the league in that 5 year span in home runs.
Yeah,
and it's not really close.
It'll be interesting to see how it is this year with Ohtani there. Because it's going to be even crazier.
And then one thing that's also crazy about the Dodgers, they've led the league in attendance for 10 straight years. And again, it has not really been close.
That's crazy to think.
It's not even comparable. Like the next team, it's usually like a 3,000 to 5,000 person gap. It's that far of a gap. And
I'd like to see. I don't know all the capacities of all the stadiums. Obviously, I know Dodger Stadium holds around 56,000. So it would be interesting to see if that has anything to do with it.
I want to say the Dodgers have one of the highest,
and so that could
in the MLB as well.
Yeah, so that definitely could help, and it could help bringing fans in and everything. I think to Yankee Stadium and Fenway Park You see those most of the time, like those teams are good, but like the Yankees have struggled a little bit, and like
Yeah.
even the Red Sox in the past, and those stadiums are always packed. And that I don't know if that's necessarily from like the history of the stadiums because everybody really enjoys going there, and they're kind of honestly it's very similar to like Notre Dame, where a lot of people travel to go see them. There are
Yeah.
a lot of fans just around the nation are Boston and Yankee fans, and then just that rival, But yeah, the Dodgers definitely that home.
And I mean, like you said earlier, that if you're winning and if you're a good team, you're obviously gonna want to go. Like, obviously, nobody really wants to go to like Oakland A's games or anything like that because they're not very good. Their stadium was way out of date.
Yeah.
But so it's gonna be interesting when they move to Vegas how they're gonna shake up and if things are gonna get better and stuff. But yeah, like Dodgers and Yankees and kind of like Boston in that too. It's like you're always going to have a pretty good team. You're always going to like have that level of play. And it's almost like that's the standard between those teams so that I definitely like plays a factor in these like determinations of who has the best advantage. But yeah, I just can't give the like to any other team.
Sure.
Dodgers are by far ahead of everybody else.
I think so. I know we've talked about the four major sports. However, I think home field advantage and home court advantage actually is the highest in college sports. And I know we don't have enough time to talk about all that because we could go on about so much and everything. But some of the ones that just stick out, like in my head, are Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor. They hold 107,601 people, which is crazy. Beaver Stadium for Penn State football. The Neyland Stadium. Sorry, I couldn't think of what it was. Neyland Stadium in Tennessee. It's a big one. Another one, Notre Dame Stadium. You got Ohio State Stadium. I think college football is huge. And then college basketball, you see like Duke and North Carolina. Those games are so crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not just football. Basketball, you have packed stadiums. And even baseball. Like, I'm pretty sure it's Florida State. They do the like tomahawk hand.
Yeah.
Whenever like a opposing pitcher throws 4 straight balls, they just start chanting.
And I think just college is just like your players are going to leave after a few years, but you're so invested in the history and everything like that. Whereas like pros, you never know when they're going to leave and stuff. And I know the transfer portal's kind of changed that a little bit, but man, just people should get so into it. One of my favorite traditions actually at a stadium is it's at Taylor University, I believe. It's Taylor University. They're the Trojans. They're in Indiana. And they have this thing called the Silent Night, which is always for Christmas. It's the Friday before finals every single year. And Taylor University is actually 25-1 all time in this game. And you don't know anything about this, correct?
No, I've never heard of it.
And so it started in 1997, and it's a 10th point celebration. So it's all the students attend the game in the pajamas, and it actually dates back to the 1980s, but the 10th point started in 1997. So everybody's like dead silent the entire first part of the game until Taylor University scores their 10th point, and then an automatic timeout is done, and everybody just goes wild. It's like a party. Like they rush the floor and everything like that. And it's sold out crowds. It's like televised on ESPN, all this kind of crazy stuff. And it looks so fun. And I mean, it definitely has something to do. Like Taylor, like I said, is 25-1 at all time in this game. And it's like, that says something to it, and I think that's just like a fun one. That's really one I would go to.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. That's definitely going on the bucket list of places, like things I'd want to go to, because that sounds like a blast.
Yeah, and there's some like other stadiums I'd love to go to just because of the stadiums and like the home advantage. Madison Square Garden would be sweet, just the history. I think in golf, Old Course at St. Andrews in Scotland, it's the oldest in the world. That'd be fun to go to. Like I said, Michigan Stadium, Beaver Stadium, Wrigley Field would be cool. And some of those soccer stadiums, like Wembley Stadium in London or Real Madrid in Spain, even Argentina. Like that would be like those soccer games. I'm not even a huge soccer fan, but those
that would be a
like
lot
the
of fun.
fans and everything would be crazy.
Yeah, all those that Tim mentioned. I also have like Fenway Park. I know Tim, he's gone to a game. I've gone to Fenway Park as a tour, but not for a game, but that would definitely be cool.
Yeah, that was fun. Just it feels like you're so close. It's really fun to go to.
But yeah, there's definitely some other like MLB stadiums like Wrigley and Busch Stadium that would definitely be cool.
What are some of your favorites that you've been to? I know me and you have traveled for a few different games, but I think I've went to a few more than you. But like, what games would you like?
I'd say my favorite that I've been to is our most recent one. We went to Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, and just the atmosphere and the dome and just like the whole outside of it and inside and the Vegas like Raider flame thing, whatever. Like,
yeah,
that was pretty cool. Like,
that's one of my favorites too. That, and I went to the Shamrock Series last year, Notre Dame versus BYU, and I think just being a Notre Dame fan, that I probably liked more just because it was Notre Dame playing in it and stuff. But yeah, Pac-12 championship, that was awesome. Another one, like obviously Notre Dame Stadium. I actually went to Neyland Stadium for a Tennessee Vols game a few years ago against South Carolina, and that atmosphere was awesome. I'd love to see them like against Bama or somebody there. I also think Folsom Field's a fun one, like we talked about a little bit earlier, just with being so close to the Flatirons. And it's just, especially now, I went to a game this year and like the Prime effect, it's just, man, it's got everything buzzing.
Yeah.
I know me and you have really wanted to go to a lot of different NBA ones, and honestly, any sport, but we really want to see the Nuggets and everywhere. I believe the only one you've been to, though, is Atlanta, correct?
Yep, that's my only away game.
Yeah, and hopefully we're going to go to a few more. I've been to a few others, and I've actually went to the Brooklyn and Washington stadiums, but they weren't playing the Nuggets. Barclays was really cool to check out, and just some of those new stadiums. I'm excited to check out the Clippers, Thunder, 76ers, and Wizards new stadiums. They're at least in plans to make new stadiums, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, the only other stadium that I've been to that hasn't really been noticed, and I don't even know the name of it, but when I was stationed in South Korea, we went to a baseball game, and just to see that stadium and how much different Korean baseball is compared to like the MLB was just really cool. They had cheerleaders and
we didn't even really dip into like
sweet.
The other countries and everything. I know, like Japan and Korea and all them, like they definitely take baseball serious, and it's just fun. And like I said, so many soccer stadiums. I'm not even a huge soccer guy, but I think it'd be fun to see. But let's get Santa Kyle's players of the week here with Christmas coming up. Just kind of, we could just keep talking about stadiums and everything for so long. So let's just kind of move on, see his players of the week.
Yeah, so we're going to keep things in the NHL realm. And I've got two NHL players that I think can be really good. They can have really good weeks, really good game stretches. The first one, Nathan MacKinnon. In the last 5 games, he's had 4 goals, 7 assists. And he's going against some really easy opponents. I think he can definitely step up on this 11-point performance in the last 5 games. I think he can do even better. I think we have some maybe multiple goal games in this stretch. I'm definitely going to get his teammates involved. Avalanche have a good chance of winning all 5 games. They play Chicago, Arizona twice, Ottawa, San Jose, St. Louis. Like, I think he can have a really good week. My next one is Connor McDavid for the Oilers. He's probably your favorite for best player in the NHL for this year. He's had 3 goals, 6 assists in his last 5 games. He's got some easy matchups and some like really good teams as well. But I think just like McKinnon, I think he'll have some multiple goal games, maybe like 3, 4, 5 goals this week. He's also going to go against San Jose, who should be pretty good against. The Devils, who's allowing quite a bit of goals. And then he has like some tough matchups against like the Kings and the Rangers that I think he's going to step up and lead his team to victories. But those are my 2 players. I'll definitely keep a lookout for them.
Well, let's see how Santa Kyle does for sure. Last week, we're going to go into our picks. Last week, Wasn't a great week for me, unfortunately. Kyle caught up a little bit, but we both picked the Steelers to beat the Colts.
Yeah,
Colts ended up coming
Yeah,
winning.
they got obliterated.
Yep.
Steelers did.
The other one was UConn versus Gonzaga.
Yep, finally got my first win in college basketball. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, he had to follow me. He had to do that one. Yep. So that one. And then, unfortunately, the Clippers whooped on Sacramento, and so Kyle got that one. So
yeah, I'm the undefeated king when it comes to NBA so far. I haven't missed a pick yet. So.
Yeah, so this week we're actually doing 5, and we're doing all the Christmas games for the NBA. So hopefully I can actually get some, and Kyle can miss some. But first one, we got Warriors versus Nuggets. Nuggets are the home team. I'll go first here. It's an easy one. I'm going Nuggets for sure, especially with Draymond Green out. But I think Jokic is just going to dominate.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I can't pick Golden State. I think Jokic definitely dominates in the post, like down low. So, yeah, definitely got Nuggets winning. Our next one, we got 76ers versus Miami. Miami is the home team. I'm going to go with the 76ers. I think Embiid is just playing a little bit too well. Tim, who do you got?
Yeah, I was really hoping you'd pick Miami. I love Jimmy Butler, and I don't want to pick the 76ers, but like you said, Embiid's playing really well right now, so I'm going to go with 76ers as well. Next one we got is the Mavs versus the Suns. The Suns are the home team, and, just watching the Suns a few games, they're kind of a hit or miss team. Same with the Mavs, honestly, but the way Doncic is playing right now, I'm going with the Mavs. I'm going with the away team.
I'm actually going to pick different. I'm going to go the Suns. I think they just have too many. Durant is just too much of a mismatch for the Mavericks. I think without Kyrie Irving, Dallas is going to struggle. But yeah, I'm going to go Suns. Our next one, we got the Milwaukee Bucks versus New York Knicks. Knicks being the home team. I'm going to go Milwaukee. I think Giannis proves too much of a mismatch, especially with Mitchell Robinson out for the Knicks. Tim, who do you got in that one?
I'm going to go with the Bucks as well. I like to pick a little different sometimes, but I'm going to go with the Bucks as well. I think Giannis, just the way he's playing, the way he's scoring right now is just crazy. So I'm going with the Bucks. Last one we got is the Celtics versus the Lakers. And seeing LeBron play on Christmas, I'm going with the Lakers. They're the home team. I think they're going to get it done.
I'm going to pick different there as well. I'm going to go Celtics. I think they're just too good, shooting too well. But so we got a little bit different picks, but kind of the same around.
Yeah, we got two different picks, two games that are different. So hopefully I'll get a little bit more of a lead on Kyle. But definitely let us know what you guys thought about this week, about the Winter Classic, different stadiums, what stadiums you like and everything. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, everything. But yeah, you see or have a great Christmas.
Yeah, that's all
have
we
a
got
great
for
holidays.
This one.
Yep, and we'll see you later, alligators.
All right, peace.
Peace.